That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks. We're getting down to crunch time, everybody. We got about 2 weeks left until Notre Dame football is back. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of questions. There's not a lot of answers to. We're going to try and navigate through it. And with me is the captain of the ship here, the managing editor over at Notre Dame, Fighting Irish Football on Sports Illustrated. It is Nick Shepkowski. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, off to a good start here. 2 weeks in, 2 weeks to go until kickoff. We've almost made it through the summer. Please no more injuries, especially to the offensive line or to key defensive linemen. But we've almost made it. 2 weeks to go. It's a week from now at this time. We'll be counting down the minutes until Florida State and Georgia Tech are strapping up in Ireland, and all will be right in the world as the greatest sport in all of the world is quickly returning here in a matter of days.
Man, you're so right. And when you do any of this content or media stuff, man, you kind of get in your own head after a while in the summer because it's all this what if and maybe this and we think that and it could be this and that. And it gets to the point where you almost like you run into a wall and then it's like in your own head and you're like, man, am I overdoing an angle, underdoing an angle? Like, because it's all questions with no answers and it piles on itself and it just feels like we just need answers, Nick. We need games. We need football back. America needs real football games back.
Well, you know this as well as anyone, like in the content creation world, of how this all goes of, okay, we get the spring brings news each day, that part each day. Then we get into the late spring once practice ends and get into the summer and it's speculation this, okay, some preview thoughts that, get into fall camp and it's like, all right, well, fall camp started. It's not like this plethora of news coming out, but it's some more. And then Thursday really for me, I don't know how you felt with everything, but it was like Thursday is when finally the fire hose started spraying water. And I was trying to drink from it in terms of getting content up and up because it was like, all right, whoa, cool. Notre Dame hockey's playing at Wrigley Field. Well, it's like the seventh thing today. I'll get to that when I can. There's more offensive line issues or at least news. Anthony Knapp is getting reps as a true freshman. Okay, well, I have to research and remember all the freshmen that have played significant time on the offensive line to get my piece ready to go on this one. Didn't so much expect to see this one coming. That went on. There was a whole swimming debacle that was announced and released. All of that's going on. And it's like, holy cow, you wait for the content, then all of a sudden it comes and it's like, okay, all right, maybe slow down for 10 minutes so I can get caught up here just a little bit. But no, it's this is what we hope for. This is what we count down for, and it's here. So can't be complaining about it.
Yeah, it's we're going to be off to the races soon enough. And the next like 5 to 6 months are going to be a blur. You know, it takes forever to get here and then it gets here and it goes by quick.
Yeah, you blink and it's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Nick, let's get into this kind of about halfway through fall camp here. We're about to turn the calendar to getting ready for A&M prep in about 7 to 10 days, something like that. The biggest story recently is I don't think the staff loves what they're seeing on the left side of that offensive line. And I'm saying, obvious. Isn't it? I don't know. How else do you interpret what we're seeing, Nick? You would not be still rotating these guys in there on the left side and trying Pendleton in there at the guard and then and moving and Knapp in there at left. You would not be running that with the ones for multiple of these viewing sessions for the media unless they didn't like what they were seeing. I don't know any other way to interpret that other than they don't like it.
Well, that's one part of it. You wouldn't be doing that 2 weeks out from game day, especially when you have an offensive line that even Tosh Baker, who of the candidates to play left tackle, has the most game reps, and it's only, 3 career starts that he's had at that, so it's not exactly like that sample's even that large. The other part of it that I found interesting is when Joe Rudolph, offensive line coach, had his media availability a week or so ago, right after, a day or two after the Jagasaw injury was announced, and he comes out and he's adamant. Tosh Baker's our best option there. I really feel Tosh Baker is our best option at left tackle. I he made it crystal clear who the favorite was. And you don't go and you don't throw Anthony Knapp out a week after that, if that's actually the case. If Tosh Baker is playing at the level that Rudolph and probably the Notre Dame coaching staff was hoping for him too, you're not throwing Knapp out there at this point in time. If Tosh Baker is playing anywhere near that level, and I guess it's a step back to take a step forward later, maybe. Because I think Knapp is limited in time in terms of what he can probably give you by the time Texas A&M rolls around 2 weeks from now. But long term, you're ceiling with Tosh Baker. I mean, he's a graduate senior. He's in his last year here at Notre Dame. It's not like he's going to skyrocket up NFL depth chart or NFL draft charts and be like a third round pick in the making or something. No, he kind of is what he is at this point. If you're expecting that 5th year, 6th year development there, good luck. Can wish in one hand and do another thing in another, and the other hand will fill up a little bit faster to keep that saying PG. But no, that's not something that's done if you feel good about the situation at left tackle. I guess the good news with that is that when you have Sam Pendleton, Anthony Knapp, heck, Ashton Craig, Billy Schroth on this, Emil Wagner on this, Gerby Lambert waiting in the wings, you have this young offensive line. The good news is, think 2 years from now how experienced, how tested, battle tested this thing's going to be, and how good it should be then. It kind of reminds me, at least from afar, of like going into 2018. 2018 had a lot of good things going for it for Notre Dame, but that offensive line was replacing Quentin Nelson. It was replacing Mike McGlinchey, 2 first-round draft picks. You didn't have 2 first-round draft picks off of this. I'd argue Joe Alt was as good, if not better, than either of those guys. And Blake Fisher, up and down at times, but still, I mean, that's a talent, that's a mass, that's an experienced guy that wound up being a second-round pick, and that kind of speaks of what you're trying to replace on this line. I think it's very similar to 2018, and that speaks to, all right, it can be an issue or maybe not necessarily a strength of this team, but it also can be enough to get by and be playing postseason football and meaningful games as well.
Man, it's just such an interesting confluence of timing. The next thing on my list to go over was exactly what you're talking about with, if you look at what that line's developing into, Jagasaw, then you add Gerby Lambert, and then you have all these young guys, and what that's going to build into is awesome. Nobody's questioning that. The problem is you got to beat Texas A&M in 2 weeks. Like it's almost like these different time capsules. Long term, you love what that group's going to develop into. You could see down the road a great Notre Dame line. The problem is you got to find a way to beat A&M. And when their alleged strength is what we're all worried about, that is what has Notre Dame fans so wound tight. You don't have to be great. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to be good enough to not get Riley Leonard killed, give the offense enough time to be able to work. It's just not an ideal place to be, man. They do not like what their plan was. And do you think they're actually going to go with this? That's the other thing, Nick. On the morning show, I'm battling with people. Do you really think that's what the starting lineup's going to be? Or are you looking at a mix and match? Maybe try the older, bigger guy first, but be ready to put Knapp in if you need to. Like, what are you really expecting when the rubber meets the road down in steamy Texas?
Yeah, I mean, it's not absurd to think that, okay, we'll get Knapp some reps with the first team because the expectation is that he's going to be on it before long, and Baker has played. But I think at this point, you still have to be. Texas A&M is such a big game for the outlook of this season. You win it, you're in the driver's seat. You're probably allowed a loss to get in the college football playoff, if not 2 losses to get in the college football playoff. You lose it, and all right, maybe you're allowed one more loss the rest of the way, but your wiggle room goes away significantly. I mean, if you're looking at being a team that's going to make noise in the college football playoff, you damn well better win this game against Texas A&M to have a chance of a home game at this. I mean, I don't think you're wasting reps in practice right now of just, all right, well, I think you're doing this because you're not satisfied with Tosh Baker, and you need to know what Knapp can give you because you're not happy with what you're seeing so far at the position.
This is just not where you want to be. I'm not even sure 10-2 Notre Dame's in the playoff field every year.
Oh,
I am not counting
this Notre Dame team 10-2. I get it. The schedule isn't as deep as other ones have been.
Yeah.
That means you either won at Florida or won against Florida State, or one at USC, or one at Texas A&M. So there's going to be a quality win in there. Your ACC slate, I mean, Georgia Tech should be better, but you mostly get, I mean, Stanford's awful. Virginia's not supposed to be very good. I mean, the preseason polls have them being second, third worst.
There's no Clemson, no Miami.
Right. Yeah, because Miami, apparently the athletic department can't count, so they overscheduled their games. So that one gets pushed back a couple of years instead of coming to South Bend this year. It must not have had math class at the U of M going on for that. But it is a break in the schedule. Like Louisville should probably be a top 25 team, I think. I think they'll be a solid team again this year, maybe. I mean, realistically, the way it played out last year, as freaky and weird as it was, they were in the ACC championship game, and if they could have gotten any offense whatsoever, they would have won the ACC championship. So there's no reason to think Louisville is going to be some slouch. So that's a solid game. Like against that schedule, I think at 10-2, you're safely in. But you're playing a road game. You're going to Ole Miss. You're going to Texas. You're going to Oregon. You're going somewhere instead of potentially being, if you're 12-0 and you're playing Boise State at home, or you're playing Memphis at home with a chance to play the Utah Utes as the Big 12 champ in the Fiesta Bowl the next week or whatever it might be. That's a heck of a lot different look than when you're going on the road and playing like at Ole Miss or at one of those SEC schools or Oregon or whoever it might be.
Yeah, nope, you're totally right, and that's why you're so right. Though, if Notre Dame finds a way to win this game, no matter what it looks like, no matter what amount,
I don't care if it's 13-10 and the offense looks like disastrous. Just get by, win a road game. I mean, that's the thing with Notre Dame that I think is as responsible in the modern day of things as Notre Dame being a big deal as anything is that, okay, yeah, you've seen Rice, you've seen Temple in week 1 games. The only week all year that college football doesn't go head to head with the NFL, Notre Dame is playing in the last 10 years. Let's just look at them. Ohio State 2 years ago. This year it's Texas A&M. Last year, okay, it's Navy, but it's in a weird event that you go to Ireland and it turns into a marquee draw. So you're the biggest thing on opening weekend of college football last year in that week 0. Who else have we seen? Michigan 2018 was a season opening game.
Texas has been season opener.
Yeah, in 2015, 2016. And that's marketing genius is what that is you make yourself on the opening weekend of college football on Sunday morning. No one's looking at the paper and saying, all right, it's a countdown until noon and the games are going on. They're saying, all right, well, I stayed up last night because Notre Dame was playing in prime time like all these games tend to be. They won or lost a heartbreaker, which most of them end up being against this blue blood level of team. Maybe Texas A&M is not a blue blood, but they're at least a very known commodity. I mean, it's the biggest game of the weekend. College game day is going to be there. It tells you all you need to know. It's marketing genius from Notre Dame, even though it makes it stressful as hell for being a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, it's this is just, there's so many questions, and they all seem to be kind of funneling to the offensive side of the ball for Notre Dame. I think we feel pretty good about that defense and that they're going to bring it every week. I know Howard Cross had a little bit of a foot injury. There's a little debate on whether that's something to worry about or not, or just kind of keep him on light duty to build back up for. Assuming that works out, you feel really pretty good about that defense. Offensively, Nick, a lot of these players are talking about, we like this Mike Denbrock offense. We can get up and go when we need to. This offense can crank it up. We could get up and down the field. We're not afraid to play fast, take some shots, be more electric, not forget about the run game, not get away from that, but be able to do some other things. Nick, that's exactly what we've been begging for from the offense, and what the offense has not been able to deliver in a lot of these big game moments where we're just not able to go to that level. Are you expecting to see that? And if so, right away against A&M? And can you answer that without knowing about the O-line? Because they got to.
As much as this game changes, the more it stays the same, right? Like, if you don't have an offensive line, it's just a ticking time bomb until things go south on you. And Texas A&M brings a defensive front that's going to threaten that in a big way immediately. So it's just somehow find a way to get by. The thing I'm most excited about with Mike Denbrock, and it's part Denbrock, it's part an improved receiver group. I don't think it's like this all-world receiver group, but so much is made of, okay, well, Mike Denbrock, he's great at creating mismatches, and that means that Jeremiah Love is going to have a huge year, so you're going to throw to Jeremiah Love a lot. Okay, well, that might be part of it, but you have actually complementary wide receivers this time. You're not trying to fit all of these, and I guess not all of them last year. Rico Flores was a little smaller, but you're not trying to fit all of Jaden Thomas, Jaden Greathouse, these guys with big numbers in the 80s that if you threw it tight end, you'd look and be like, oh, that's an actual tight end. Oh, wait, no, it's actually one of Notre Dame's receivers because they're all built the same and they wear numbers in the 80s all the damn time. You're seeing more complimentary wide receivers with Bo Collins. I don't know what Jaden Harrison's going to be as a wide receiver, but the idea of him, what he's supposed to be, I think Jordan Faison meets up very well with this team. What they need, kind of that, not necessarily the fastest guy in the world. I know it's a huge comparison to make, and I get laughed at when I say it sometimes, but he reminds me so much of Golden Tate. Like watching him, the way he controls his body, maybe not. Golden Tate wasn't like this burner. Golden Tate had more. I don't know if the guy did ballet when he was like from 2 years old on or what. I don't know if I've ever seen a Notre Dame player have the balance that Golden Tate had. And Faison has something very similar to that. I mean, the quick twitch and just it seems like he's never off balance. And so I think there is I feel like he's being overlooked because of the transfers that came in. Like, oh, he has a cute story as a freshman, da-da-da-da. I think he's a real player. I really do. I think he brings that kind of element that like Hunter Renfrow did back with Clemson when Clemson got to their title level, got 8 years ago now. So I am optimistic about seeing this offense because I think you have a guy that is calling plays that's going to be a bit more greedy than, all right, well, let's just chuck it to a tight end. Well, let's just chuck it to a big receiver that's not going to run away from anybody, that kind of thing. I think you're going to see a little more greed offensively. And I mean, with the offensive line issues, yes, Riley Leonard's foot, his ankle is the concern that it comes in with. But you also have an incredibly mobile quarterback that it's not Jack Cohen back there. It's not Sam Hartman back there. It's a guy that has shown that as good as anything he does is get away from opposing defenses. And yeah, when you have great defensive lines, they're going to limit that a bit. But Riley Leonard's going to be an X factor that makes up for a lot of maybe some of those shortcomings that the offensive line brings.
Terrific point by you. I think that's what you're going to have to do. And especially against A&M where Notre Dame staff isn't quite sure the protection they're going to get. Expect him to be rolling out away from that left side on the move. RP, keep it, throw it, whatever. Roll that guy away from the disaster zone and keep that baby rolling. Or
flood right.
Nick, subtle little things like if you're getting that push from the left side, him having the field of scoot up in the pocket just a little bit to let that rush get behind him, whatever. Like Riley Leonard should be good enough at those kind of things to help mitigate this a little bit, because I just don't think anyone knows what to expect out of what kind of protection you're going to get there. And the other thing is Notre Dame's going to want to run the ball too, Nick. They're not just going to come out here wheeling and dealing and throw it all over. There is going to be a part of this A&M game where Notre Dame's going to try and see what they could get done in the run game and where they may have an advantage there. So I just think there's some things they're going to do to be able to scheme to play with that left side and see what it is. Nobody loves it, but if you need to have a big tight end in there to chip or do something like that, you can. You just can't have a catastrophe where Riley Leonard's getting blindsided all the time. The ankle's getting twisted. You just can't have any of that.
Yeah, I mean, I look back and like, when was I this concerned with the Notre Dame line going in? 2018, I know I mentioned, and that one ended up being okay. Wasn't great, but it ended up being okay. You had some younger guys playing. Like Hainsey was younger back then. Mustafer, I'm trying to remember what year Mustafer would have been at that point. Was that Mustafer's last year, I want to say? But it was a bit of a little bit younger offensive line that was kind of put together, or at least experience-wise, was put together that year. I mean, cover your eyes, cover your ears if you're a diehard Notre Dame fan. Like 2007, a lot of that offensive line had to be replaced, and like Jimmy Clausen didn't have time to, I mean, do anything. Drop back. Okay, he's on the ground. There's a loss of 8. Second and 18. Okay, there was no semblance of a run game that aired, nothing apparent that year. I don't think it's going to be something like that. I do think that you're going to see an offensive line it's respectable. So I don't think it's going to be like this disaster that gets trotted out there. But it not being a strength for Notre Dame is definitely just a weird feeling based off of how many times you see it. Even if it's not great, it's still usually a strength of this offense. And you
just got to win week 1. If you can escape week 1, everyone will take this big collective exhale, whatever that looks like, get that win and just whatever, forget it. Then
you win that game. Okay, Northern Illinois.
Yep.
At Purdue, yeah, it's probably Purdue Super Bowl, whatever.
The tailgate, the always Irish tailgate game,
right? Miami of Ohio, the cradle of coaches are going to show up at the always Irish tailgate for Miami of Ohio, and then you have really a month to get ready for that Louisville game. It's kind of what it is. I don't want to sit. Listen, I think that Purdue is going to throw everything at it just because that's what Purdue does, and haven't played down there in a decade now.
Oh, so get the drum going. Get the big drum going.
Drum and toot your train horn. Okay, cool. I loved trains when I was 6 years old too. Grow up, Peter Pan. But regardless of that, like, hey, like you should have a month after this game, or 28 days after this game to get ready for that Louisville game. And then you get a bye.
Yep.
And then you have a pretty manageable middle third of the season.
Yep.
And then you have another bye, and then you have Florida State, which is going to have a pretty good defensive line too. But you get through this one, the manageability of this schedule, the manageability of making this offensive line, it takes time to grow. I don't care what it is. You think it's a video game and you can just plug and play players. Like, no, you talk to anyone who's played offensive line at any high level, and they tell you, you get used to playing to the guy to the left, guy to the right. Like, you get used to what they do, picking up their whatever it is, just working with them. It takes time. It takes game reps, and it's going to take time. It's going to take game reps. Figure out a way, any stinking way. I don't care if it's 2 blocked punts for touchdowns, whatever the hell it has to be. Just get the job done in this game. And I mean, you are setting yourself up for a memorable fall because the schedule just lends itself so nicely to that.
You're totally right. The spacing, not only who Notre Dame plays, the spacing and timing of the games. For as bad as it was a setup last year, it is good this year with your ramp ups to the big moments, then your lulls in the schedule, your ramp back up. Only 3 true road games, 1 to start the year, 1 to end the year. Purdue is the only one in the middle. Everything else on the road is neutral. Like, there are a lot of advantages there. And then going back to this, the Notre Dame defense has been the backbone of this program for so long. I might need you one more week, you guys. Like, I need you to do that and be that strength that keeps you in every game. I think you're going to need that for A&M because I'm just not sure offensively what you're going to get. That Al Golden defense, year 3, good blend back there of veteran guys and younger athletic guys. They need to have a good week, and they may need to save the day. I hope not. I hope the offense does great. But I may need that defense save the day one more time, Nick. I might need it.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it, and it's the total. When the Jagasaw injury was announced, the total went from 49 to 47 in that game, or 49.5 to 47.5 in that game. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, Jagasaw or not, you score 21 points in this game, you have to be feeling real good about your chances, regardless of which side you're on.
Yeah.
And that, if you win 21-20, even then your total is only at 41. I mean, that screams under at me for the betting-minded folk out there of, I don't know where the points are coming from on this unless it's punt returns or kickoff returns and pick sixes. I really don't, because I think both offenses are going to struggle in big ways in this one.
Man, this is going to be really interesting. So I guess for now, we're going to wait and see what else comes out of camp here. We're transitioning from getting into camp and all that excitement, creeping towards A&M prep, where things are going to start really solidifying, and you'll have a better idea of where they're settling at some of these positions. So we'll monitor that, hoping for no more big injuries. It is what it is. A&M had a big one in the running game. Like, injuries happen. You hope for nothing big with that. And then we get ramped up because game week's almost here. Anything else we should be looking at, Nick?
I mean, obviously, I think all eyes are on the offensive line. I am curious to see how this rotation of receivers looks, of how deep is that going to go, because I think you have a lot of bodies that can contribute. So I'm curious about that a bit. And I mean, I'm excited to watch the defense just kind of function as a whole. I mean, you have what should be one of the better defensive lines in the country. You have a group of linebackers that you're starting to see what it means to recruit more than just one big-time linebacker in a class. You're starting to put classes together, stack classes, and I think that group of linebackers is going to be very interesting to watch, very fun to watch. And you have what should be one of the best secondaries around. It really should be. Benjamin Morrison talking about being 100% ready to go, how he just kicked the living daylights out of his rehab with his shoulder and hit the ground running, and it's how excited he is for this part. And I just look at this, and I think this defense is going to be as good as advertised. It should be. I don't really see, okay, if your weakness is the linebackers have a potential to be the best group of Notre Dame linebackers top to bottom in a number of years here. So you're playing with a pretty good hand already defensively and offensively. Like we said, if you can just get by that A&M game, you got a month to really grow this thing and be in real good shape before that Louisville game. Then you get a bye week, favorable middle of the schedule. It lends itself to being a team that can be, just get through these first couple of weeks, and you can be a real nightmare for a lot of big time teams here by the end of things.
Man, I'm so sick of thinking and writing and talking about Texas A&M. Like, you almost forget there's all the season after it, but it's such an important pivot point moment for Notre Dame and where Freeman's at in year 3 and the momentum and the recruiting and the round of how I'm sick of worrying about A&M, but it's that big of a flashpoint moment for everybody looking at Notre Dame and Freeman. It's about the moment, the totality of the moment, no matter what you think of A&M or how good you expect them to be or not. It's a big moment for the program for Notre Dame, and they need to rise to the occasion, Nick. I need it. Find a way.
Yeah, find a way. I mean, it's kind of what's Marcus Freeman's biggest road win so far in his 2 years of coaching at North Carolina when they were 1-2. Early on in his first season. Like, what's his biggest win on the road so far? There really hasn't been. That North Carolina one, maybe because it was against, forget, was it Drake? Yeah, Drake May would have been there that year. Yeah. So it was against Drake May and a talented North Carolina team. But outside of that, where is your big time road win? It just simply doesn't really exist. Go out and get the damn thing. Go out, get that, and you are sitting pretty for a long time this fall if that's the case.
Yep, it's going to be really, really interesting. And on the way out, just thanks to everybody who's been over at the Sports Illustrated Notre Dame website, reading the articles. We've gotten Nick, a bunch of the morning people said, we've been reading everything you guys are doing. Keep it coming.
Well, I mean, they better keep reading because, I mean, we're pumping out 12, 13 pieces of content with regularity right now. I mean, it is get one done, throw another one up there. Each time that I throw one in, I'm just like, oh my God, John has 2 more. And okay, I got to edit these, or I got to get a hold of Pete. We got to get these things edited and up. No, it is flowing with content. So make it part of your day, at least once in the morning, once in the afternoon, because there's probably going to be a couple more pieces. And by night, there sure as heck's going to be a couple more. So don't make it just a one-time stop. Make it there a couple times during the day. We'll get you covered.
Yeah, I want everybody to realize.
Guess what? It's always going to be free, too. I want to make sure that's known of, like, I don't know. There's part of me that loves like marketing. There's part of me that loves history of things. And when you look at the way of like how Notre Dame became this big national brand, the marketing of Rockne saying, hey, radio stations, come here, air our games for free. Guess what? I'm not going to ask you to subscribe to something or pay some money to join our site and get this exclusive content. Well, we know, and you're going to read about it for free on Notre Dame Fighting Irish on Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And but seriously, you guys, we're pumping 10, 11, 12, 13 articles a day. We're not even into the season yet, and that's the volume just off the news. And so we got something there all the time. Thanks to everybody that's been over there already. And we're going to do more of this, and we're going to it'll be me and Nick. We're going to bring in Nathan and Mason. We're going to have we're going to do round tables. We're going to debate. We're going to have a good little ecosystem here to be able to get everybody's opinion here within this Sports Illustrated circle. So thanks a lot for joining, everybody. Thanks for reading, and we'll see you guys soon enough. Take care.